up, guys? I'm Anthony and welcome to After Van Life. I want to start this video off by saying that I hope each and every one of you guys out there are doing everything you can to keep yourself safe as I am doing here. With that being said, today's video is kind of like a special video because I'm doing an experiment. I am filming this video with both of my cameras. I have them sitting next to one another. Of course, with the older GoPro that I have, you probably won't even be able to hear half of the video. But I decided that I was going to try this out because the old camera was sitting there staring me into my face doing nothing. So I said, let me just try this out. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Today, guys, I decided that I was going to do some baking. If you have not noticed, in my last grocery hauls, I have not bought any sweets. Of course you guys didn't notice that. But let me not buy some vegetables. Everybody be like, Anthony, where's the vegetables? You ain't got no vegetables. You ain't buying no vegetables. You guys will notice that. But I have not been buying any sweets. But I do get a sweet tooth up in here. I just get a taste where I want something sweet. So I decided that I was going to try and bake my own cookies. Now I have baked these cookies I baked these cookies about 2 or 3 times now, and good. Now the great thing about baking your own cookies at home is that 1, you can control how much sugar you put in these cookies. 2, you can control how many of these cookies you make. And 3, you can control what type of cookie that you're going to make. Today I'm going to be making some macadamia white chocolate chip cookies with a little cinnamon sprinkled over them once I take them out the oven. Oh, absolutely delicious. So let's get right to it. You want to start off with a stick of butter at room temperature. Now, of course, when I decided that I was going to make a video and bake some cookies, my butter was not at room temperature. So what I did was I took a smaller bowl, ran some hot water in it, and I just kind of submerged the stick of butter in the bowl until I felt it softening up. And then I took it out and transferred it into this bigger bowl here. Alright, so let's get started here. Now, one of the things that I am going to tweak today is the sugar content. This original recipe called for a whole cup of, a half a cup of light brown sugar. I am going to put just a quarter of a cup. I'm going to put just a quarter of a cup in here because it was just a little too sweet for me. So there we go, a quarter of a cup of light brown sugar. It has to be light brown sugar. Alright, the next thing I'm going to add in here is the white granulated sugar. Now that called for a quarter of a cup, I think. So I'm going to go down to a third. I'm even going to put less than a third in there. That's going to do it. That's enough sugar. I probably bite into it and be like, ugh. Alright, now you want to take your fork. And this would be a lot easier if your butter is at room temperature. And you want to get all that incorporated until it becomes a cookie dough. Now, when I first did this, let me tell you, it took some muscle. My arm was hurting, my wrist was hurting, and I sort of now, I wouldn't say that I have a technique, but the more you make them, you adjust so that your arm won't hurt as much. I like to take my fork and mash the butter down. Mash it down like that. And then squirt it around so you can get all of the sugars. I'll tell you, that first time I had 2 forks, 2 spoons, because because it was sticking all to the fork. But see that? If you mash it down, there you go. Instead of trying to stir it up and this and that, just mash it down. And that's all that you're going to get out of that. Of course, I'm using half of the sugar content. But that's it. That little tiny bit. And the next thing you want to do is take 1 egg. And you want to take some vanilla extract. And I'm going to put a half a teaspoon. I always like to put a little more, because you can't go wrong with vanilla. That's a flavor enhancement. Alright, then you want to get that all mixed up and incorporated into. Now, oh! I thought I saw a shell. Oh. Is that a shell? I think it is. Okay. I'll find out when I bite into that cookie. Okay, you want to go ahead and mix this up in there with your shell and all. I couldn't get it. Nothing like a little extra crunch in your cookie. You want to get that egg and that vanilla all incorporated in your dough. Now it's going to start feeling a little loose. Now this is the part where you can actually just go ahead and stir it as opposed to smashing it down. Alright, there we go. Now at this point you're probably looking at it and thinking, okay, that is just like too soft. You know how cookie dough is usually really doughy like when you're fixing like pizza dough? Well, that's going to change when you put your 1.5 cups of flour. So I'm going to put 1.5 cups of all-purpose white flour. And I don't know why I'm into this new bag when I still got some left in my old bag up there. Alright, that's going to be enough. Now I usually get about 8 cookies. Get all that stuff out the way that I've already used. Now this is the part that I thought was the most difficult, because once I put that flour in, because it looked to me like it was way too much flour for the amount of cookie dough that I had in there. But once you start mixing it up, and I probably should have put less flour in there. I should have just put 1 cup in there, because I did put less sugar in there. But I don't think the sugar is what makes the volume of the cookies. I think it's the stick of butter. Now hopefully in a short period of time your cookie dough will start to thicken up. Now I'll tell you, this part right here, trying to get all that flour from off the sides and the bottom of the bowl was a pain in my butt. And that's why I have this smaller bowl right here, because my arm was hurting, my wrist was hurting, trying to get all that flour incorporated into this little ball of dough. I transferred it into this smaller bowl, and I said, the heck with the rest of that flour that's all on the sides and stuff. that was too much for me. I was like, oh my goodness. See all that? I ain't got time to be trying to get all that. So I'm gonna do the same thing, take this smaller bowl. I ain't got time to be all, I don't need all that. And I'm gonna transfer that into here. Get as much out as we can. And we'll finish up right in here. There we go. Okay, you want to mix this up until you don't see any white flour. And it also has the texture of that pizza dough type of feel that you can take it up in your hand and roll it up. Alright, next thing we want to do is, now when I first made these, the first couple times, I went ahead and put whole white chocolate morsels in there, as well as whole macadamia nuts. And what I found is that they don't do anything. These white morsels, they don't melt, and of course the macadamia nuts are not going to melt. So I decided that I was going to chop my macadamia nuts up and my morsels up. That I was going to chop these up and then put them in there. Now, of course, some of them are going to end up being bigger than others, but for the most part, they're going to be chopped up. Because I had these big white morsels and these big macadamia nuts, and they weren't even melted. They were sticking out. Now, some people might like that. They might like their morsels and their macadamia nuts all big and sticking out of the cookie. Now, what made me decide to make macadamia nuts is because, Lord, I love, love, love those cookies at Subway. I used to get those, but let me tell you, you can die from one of them cookies. Those cookies have so much sugar in them. They are so sweet. You can only eat one at a time. And then you gotta drink a jug of water after that. So look at here, I got my morsels and macadamia nuts all chopped down like such. And then I'm gonna put this into the bowl. Now I found that this gives me a better result of what I want my cookies to look like. Then I'm going to mix this up in here. Not too much, because you already did a whole lot of mixing. Just so that the morsels and the macadamia nuts are spread out. Because you don't want one cookie to have all the macadamia. I said macadamia. Woo! Macadamia. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and put this. Oh God. I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. Now, the original recipe put it in there for an hour, but I found that to be too hard. Now, the whole point of putting it in the refrigerator is so that once you put them in the oven, they don't spread out too far. If you put them in the oven now, as soft as they are, your dough is going to spread out when they're cooking. So you want to get them a little bit stiff, but I found that an hour makes it too hard for me, and I'm going to put mine in there for, oh God, for 30. For 30. I'm going to put mine in there for 30 minutes. All right, guys, I'll see you in 30 minutes when we're going to go ahead and throw these in the oven, and we're going to have some nice treats. Back, it's time to get these cookies on a tray here. I did put a little vegetable oil on there so that the bottom of the cookies can brown up. And we're going to roll some of these cookies up. Now I like to mash my cookies down. And these cookies are not as hard as I like them to be. So these cookies are going to spread a little bit, probably a lot more than I want them to. But I like my cookies to be nice and flat. I don't like a puff cookie. So I'm going to make sure that these cookies are flat. I feel like this batch they're going to spread out. But if you flatten them out, they're not going to be able to spread out for so much because you've already flattened them out. So, flatten them out. I'm just going to make 3. And I'm going to turn this oven on. Alright guys, there they are. I'm going to go ahead and put these in the oven, and since I just turned the oven on, it's probably going to take a couple minutes for the oven to actually get heated. And I'm going to let these stay in here. I like to keep watch of them. Once I see the edges of them browning up, that's my cue to take them out. So it's probably going to be about 6 to 7 minutes if the oven was already preheated. So now it might take like 8 minutes or so. So let's get these in the oven. Alright guys, I've taken the cookies out of the oven. I sprinkled some cinnamon on top of them. They look amazing, and this is what they look like. I'm going to let these cookies cool down for about 10 minutes, have me a cup of milk, and I am going to eat these cookies. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's video, but before I end the video, I like to remind you guys to please go and check out my candle website. I have some great candles on my website, and the link is in the description. The link is always going to be in the description of all my videos. So, I'd like to thank you guys, as always, for taking a few minutes out of your day to watch my videos. I do appreciate you guys, you know that, and I'll see you guys the next time.